watch until the last of the video. Watching.
Etiquette in Africa. African territory requires some awareness of its culture and customs. Therefore, prior to initializing a market entry into Africa, it's important to get familiarized with its cultural background and basic ethical philosophies to understand how to establish a business relationship with an African businessman. Africans are conservative and sensitive, so they follow formal business etiquette and hierarchical system. Knowing African entrepreneur on an amicable personal level will create a good basis for further business negotiation. So this is the basic etiquette business in Africa. The first is African greet people using handshake. In Kenya, girls sometimes greet each other with kiss on the cheek. The Anglophone in Cameroon greet close friends with a unique handshake which involves snapping the other party's middle finger with one's thumb. So the next is, please note that some Muslims will not shake hands with the opposite sex. So the next, African greetings are not rush. It is more polite to ask about the welfare of the other party and his family, health, and other personal inquiries. So the last is, as a sign of respect, Africans bow their heads to superiors or to people who are older than them. So the next is gift giving. There are African etiquettes to be followed when giving present or gift. Here are a few of them. The first is never use your left hand when giving gift to African. Use either the right hand or both hands whenever handing over a gift. Do not bring alcohol when visiting African acquaintances, unless if you are certain that the host drinks liquor. Gifts shall be worn, although there are no inhibition when it comes the color or design of the gift wrap. However, be reminded that Africans do not open gifts in public. Gifts are not necessarily expensive, but gifting children is highly appreciated. In Kenya, it is customary to give small gifts to servant, trade people, and service workers during Christmas. So the next is dining etiquette. Africans are quite formal when it comes to dining with guests. They follow traditional dining etiquette that is important to remember. It is necessary to dress nicely or formally when invited to an African dining setting. Do not begin eating unless the eldest man has started eating. Africans offer priced delicacies to honored guests. In Cameroon, many Africans eat with their hands, so a washhabin is prepared for you to wash your hand in. Talking about business during dinner is a taboo for most Africans. Refrain from bringing up business proposal unless if the dinner is intended for business planning. So the next is etiquette in other country in Africa. Greetings. It is important to greet everyone respectfully and immediately upon seeing them. This is especially important in rural villages of South Africa, where it is respectful to greet everyone you pass by. The most common greeting is a handshake accompanied with eye contact and a smile. This is appropriate among most South Africans. Handshake might be light or firm depending on the person you are greeting. People from rural villages might use two hands to shake a greet. When shaking hands with a person of the opposite gender, men usually wait for women to extend their hand first. People might greet with a hug if they know each other well. It is polite to address people by their title and last name until they have signaled that it is appropriate to move on to a first name basis. Religion. South Africa has never had an official state religion. The country's constitution explicitly states everyone's right to freedom of conscience, religion, thought, belief, and opinion. However, the government actively promotes Christianity throughout much of the 20th century, and it remains the most widely followed faith today. While the South African census did not include a question of religious affiliation, the majority of South Africans identified as Christian in a general household survey. This represented an increase from reported in the census. Of the remaining population identified with ancestral or traditional African religions, identified as Muslim, identified as Hindu, and identified as Jewish. Atheism and agnosticism were identified by of the population. Christianity in South Africa. Christianity was first introduced to South Africa when large number of Christian missionaries began arriving from the Netherlands. Further missionaries from the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Scandinavia, and the United States started to arrive from the early 18th century. South Africa's religious composition was deeply shaped by this early interaction. Today, the majority of South Africans identify as Christian. The African Independent Church makes up the largest Christian group. This consists of several churches and subdivisions are denominationally, ritually, and linguistically diverse. However, they are all united by the fact that they were established by African initiative rather than foreign missionaries. Christianity and the apartheid. Christianity has had an influential role in South African society and politics, both during and after apartheid. However, many Christian churches also played an instrumental role in the abolishment and transition from apartheid. Former President Nelson Mandela often called upon church and religious organizations to help in the process of building a new South Africa. So the next is basic etiquette. Basic etiquette, it is polite to receive items with both hands together, held out as a cup. Some South African ethnic groups might find it impolite to make gesture with the left hand. White and Asian South Africans tend to follow punctuality more highly than black, and mixed race South Africans who are more likely to follow African time. South Africans often use the phrase no or just no. To do something no is to do something shortly, whereas just no means to do something in the near future but not immediately. Visiting people's houses are usually pre-arranged in South Africa, but unannounced visits from good friends or relatives are also common. Guests are expected to greet everyone respectfully and immediately upon arrival. It is polite to remove your shoes before entering most South African homes. Respect your host's privacy and do not explore their house unless invited to. Wait to be let into a new room by someone senior. So the next is the thing you allow to do and don't do it. The first is do. Offer sympathy if there is mention of the difficult situation in South Africa. People are likely to respond well to warm and deeply appreciate the gesture. Expect South Africans to be hospitable and make an effort to respond to and return their warmth. Show respect and interest in what people have to say whenever they are talking. If a South African might quickly disagree, you as a disrespectful person if they feel you are not listening to them. Communicate face to face when possible. Another thing you don't do in Africa. Do not openly criticize the South African country, its politics or point problem. Even if you are educated in your opinion, a South African is likely to assure you that you don't know or understand the situation there if you haven't lived there. Be aware that politics, racism, the apartheid, violence, and inequality are sensitive issues in South Africa. If the conversation is raised, do not presume the person's position and recognize that many South Africans are aware of the affluence and power that they hold within their population. Avoid openly expressing anger or losing control of your emotions. So the next is communication. Communication verbal. Direct communication. Talk mannerism in communication vary among ethnic groups. Most South Africans have a direct style of communication. They generally speak confidently and straight to the point. Their intention and meaning is generally very self-evident. For example, a South African is likely to openly point out when you are wrong or disagree with you on the spot. This can come across as overly assertive or blunt. However, keep in mind that this is not generally the intention. Moreover, they are likely to appreciate similar honesty and not take offense to it as such. Raised voice. Afrikaners and Black South Africa naturally tend to speak at a louder volume than those from the English-speaking West. It is also normal for Black South African to continue conversation by shouting when situated at a distance from one another. Silence. Silence can be interpreted as a sign that the conversation is not engaging or that sometimes involved. South African can grow uncomfortable with prolonged period of silence and many naturally speak to fill it. Location and formality. Communication might vary depending on the location, with more traditional approach being used in rural areas and people adopting more cosmopolitan approach in urban areas. For example, African people might find it very rude to refer to elders without using the prefix om or tani, while in a small tone. However, in an urban environment, they might simply use the formal manner MAGHFIROH or JOFRO when talking about older people. Non-verbal, physical contact. South Africans are generally comfortable with physical affection and like to express warmth through actions such as hugging and patting each other on the back. A lack of physical contact can be interpreted as aloofness, unfriendly lines, or a lack of trust. Hand. Some ethnic groups might find it impolite to make gesture with the left hand. Black South Africans generally favor the right hand, which South Africans are generally comfortable with using both left and right hand. Putting your hand in your pockets and being misinterpreted as disrespectful. Expression and body language. Black South Africans are very animated and communicate heavily through their facial expression when speaking. White South Africans generally make less use of hand gesture in conversation. Eye contact. South Africans tend to maintain steady eye contact throughout the duration of a conversation. However, older South Africans might avert their eyes to show respect to authority. Personal space. Black South Africans often sit and stand very close to each other. Therefore, some might stand at proximity that a Westerner might consider to be uncomfortably close. It is likely they have not been made aware of the discomfort some people might feel with this. Gesture. Making a V with the index finger and middle finger in the shape of the peace sign is very rude if your palm is facing toward yourself. Youth in South Africa sometimes use the sign known to the West as the shake or hang loose sign. Pointing. It considered rude to use your index finger to point at someone. Okay guys, thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share to your social media. Thanks for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.